a little thin today. Maybe it's the change of the time. Oh, usually have about 5 or 6 more. I just can't get different ones. All right, I think we're. All right, Miss Deb, if you could lead us in the invocation and the pledge. Let's get started here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we're going to start our meeting today right at 6 o'clock. And I have a feeling that my guest speakers forgot that it was 6:30. So they think it's... Who? Okay. All right. All right, so I've got a text from Dwayne's. I'll text Joe here in a minute. Listen, let's start with roll call first, please.
Okay, Ms. Enlow?
Here.
Oops. Brad?
Here.
Jennifer?
Here.
Faith?
Here.
Mike?
Here.
Paula?
Here.
All right, well, thank you. First thing I need here is approval for our minutes on October the 23rd, 2023. I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Faith is a motion. Need a second, please.
I'll second. Oh.
Paula?
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Mike?
Yes.
Paula? Yes. Jennifer?
Yes.
Bonnie?
Yes.
Faith?
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to start with our presentations. We have no Courtney, no Jeremy, and I'm just getting ready to text Joe. That's all right.
Amber. She wants
Well, Amber is aptly, we're going to start with Amber because she's got something to tell us. Come on up here, Miss Amber. I mean, if you'll push that button there, and then get you going here.
So we are doing Shop Small Week. Normally it's November 25th, but we are doing it a week long. We're going to start November 20th through the 25th. I just want to show you all, this was available starting today at City Hall. It's the passport. So whoever wants to participate, they stop here, get the passport. We have 20 local businesses that are participating. We're asking the public to visit 10 out of the 20. Once they visit one of the locations, they will get a sticker. Once they get 10 stickers, they will return it back to City Hall. Out of the participating businesses, they had to, as a requirement, they had to send in a $25 gift certificate or merchandise of $25. We're going to put it in a basket and then raffle it off the following week, and Mayor will draw from the passports that are turned in. So they have until the 25th to get stickers, and then until the following Thursday to turn in their passport, and then we'll do the drawing December 1st. So,
All right, well,
so
thank
if
you.
anybody wants to participate, I do have some on the back table. So,
Is purchases necessary?
no.
Okay.
So.
And how many businesses again?
There's 20 all together.
Okay, and we tried to pick a lot of the businesses during this time that you would actually patronize during this time. There are some things like, maybe not looking at insurance and some others, but we tried to blend it with the folks that we're actually trying to support, but we're gonna do a number of things. We're obviously gonna have something on the website that we're gonna have, yeah.
So we're gonna have a business directory on our website. Whitney is actually doing the finishing touches on that, so that should be up and going tomorrow. So I've added all the participating ones on there, and then a couple of others. So we'll just keep on adding as the days go.
Did she put it categories? She did something real nice for,
Yeah, she's gonna do categories.
okay, because that's a good thing. What you would click it on, you're able to look at categories that you might be interested in. Maybe it's just shopping for clothes. Obviously it might be something different than that, but I mean, yep. Yeah, we want to make sure it's always all the local folks, so we can have it there. Hi, Miss Courtney. So, thank you, Miss Amber. Miss Courtney, yeah. I know we just kind of get you to run on here and come on, run on down, but come and see us here for a minute. If you will, would you push that button for us? We actually raised it up, so we should be able to hear you guys a whole lot better this way. If you turn
Testing.
away from it, or get away from it, we may
My
not be
voice
able
is
to hear
pretty loud.
you. No, but, yeah, it's all good.
Okay, so just a couple of things to note. We had talked the last time we met, Rob Flaherty with the Bullitt County Health Department has some really cool ideas, and the mayor, Rob, and myself had a couple of conversations. They're very interested in doing something along the lines of sponsoring our 5K trail run, and we are gonna just work on developing that. So that's something that's not a huge structure. We're not gonna see any fancy beautiful coloring about that, but what it is going to offer is functionality that our kids desperately need. Our cross-country kids don't really have a place to practice in the way of kind of calling it their own home court, their home, and this is going to be that. So that is really a step in the right direction. And the cool thing about it is we had a conversation about sponsorships and the park, but what it turned into was just like one thing after the other. It was a brainstorming session, and so it's really going to be cool to watch some of the things unfold that the health department has in the works, and it partners beautifully with some of the things we're doing in the city. So I think that's a kind of an unexpected bonus for all of us, that they are really working hard to put some community projects together to really get out forward facing, and it's perfect with some of the events that Amber's putting together. It's a win-win. So that's very exciting. But they were absolutely interested in partnering and being the main sponsor for that 5K part. So that's a big win. And the mayor has this beautiful schematic of this really cool skate park. I don't know if you've heard him mention it 482 times over the last month.
Who's counting?
But we have a good conversation coming with Browning. We've kind of been talking to Terry and Mark about what makes sense for Browning. You see the visibility of all the, it's very obvious they're involved in the Cedar Grove Industrial Park. But what a great step in the right direction if we could put their name on something that was recreational, that was family, so it's like you're still going to get that visibility from 65, because that's where the skate park's going to be. So whoever gets involved in that, that's visibility that you're not going to get with many of these other projects. It's a very special opportunity, and Browning has a very special spot in this, the industrial area for sure. So I think that could be a win-win. So we'll keep you posted on that. And then I have to brag on, in the name of economic development, in the name of what we're trying to do, Jose and I sat down, I want to think it was probably February, and we made a list of 10 things that we really wanted to offer on Buckman. And number one on my list was a boutique. And I don't know if you've had a chance to visit Mary. She's one of my childhood friends. We grew up together. We went to high school. She graduated from Bullitt Central. She is a phenomenal businesswoman. She's a phenomenal role model, and she's a philanthropist. She gets involved and supports her community like no other. And for her to come and trust us and set up shop on Buckman and really take that first leap that this is what the new Buckman's going to look like. There is foot traffic. My heart is bursting with pride, not just because I love her, but I also love the fact that we now have our first, this is the first thing that this group's done, and she's the first of a few, because that is really going to kick open the door to say, oh, we have RDR, we have this cute salon here, we have this, we have, it's interesting, some of the folks that are coming to talk to us. So if 3 or 4 of these come to fruition, it's really going to be an awesome place to just walk 3 or 4 blocks, and you have shopping opportunities. Everything's foot traffic friendly. Everything's family friendly. Everybody's going to be hungry. So it's just, again, it's like writing it down, focusing on those, just continuing to talk about those. It's happening. So
Yeah, I'm all in favor of the winery.
I'm very aware of that too. That goes right with the skate park. I put a check mark every time you mention it.
I just thought you mentioned it.
Yeah. Well, it's awesome that we're exploring the way that we can rearrange some of the ordinances that we have available. It's much more attractive if you have a winery, or if you have a spot where you can just grab something to go, put it in a cup, and walk through the park. That's a big deal. So those things it's kind of like giving us ammunition to go market the opportunities with downtown Buckman and the beautification that's going on down there. It is legitimate. I mean, it's just helping so much. It's so much easier to invite somebody like Mary down and look around. We just walked up and down. We did it 2 times, 4 months apart. And the difference in the 4 months, she said, she was like, I can't believe the difference in Buckman. I cannot believe the difference in what it looks like. So thank you to everybody on the beautification committee. I just feel like everybody working together, it is making a difference, and RDR is the first step.
So one of the things that are gonna tie into this, last, a week and a half ago, we closed on the Williams property. We actually own that property now. We'll be bidding that out for the demolition part of this. Probably the next few weeks. I'll have to figure out the details. We just signed the papers, so all that's done. So,
Yeah.
we should be looking at that. Maybe, we gave him 90 days. I don't think he's gonna need 90 days, but I would think sometime in late January, February, we'll start demolition on right there at Second Street. So that's, again, gonna be another thing that people are gonna see, that we're developing, the way things are gonna be downtown. And so I think that's also gonna be another encouragement.
Absolutely.
We've got a couple of water features that we've been looking at.
Yes.
So I sent some pictures out to Courtney and some others, just to take a look at what we can offer, because
For the
Beams
town
and Torium
square.
has committed to pay for that water feature. Beams
Beam,
and Torium. And then the Beam Vets, they are sponsoring the Veterans Memorial inside of the town square area. So that green space area that's between First Street and that little side road, that little corner, right, that little area right there will be the memorial. So we're pretty excited about that as well. So we have
Yes.
commitments for that. We're working on designs. A lot of that's the work we're doing now. As we start on the construction, we're trying to finish up. Catherine's got a contract for the second part of the demolition over there at the Aquatic Center. We're working to get the water line to run it all the way to the Salt River. We're gonna be working on that the next couple of months. And then you'll start seeing some more work in the park. We looked at some more playground, designs today. So a lot of good stuff happening. I think when people start seeing that, I think there's gonna be encouraged to be more
Absolutely.
downtown, but.
well, and again, kudos to anyone who decided that the veterans, we could have that spot on the corner, because it's kind of like the prime real estate of the park, I believe. And for you all to allow the veterans to develop that and make that our own, it's a huge deal. And so we're gonna, again, Beam Vets, the American Legion, the VFW, there's so many groups working together. That's the first time that's ever happened, for starters. So that's a huge deal in itself. But man, it's really magical. That veteran part is going to be obviously my favorite. Any questions? Anything I can?
When you say that they got sponsorships for the 5K trail and the skate park, what does that mean?
I didn't say they got sponsorships. I said we are discussing, definitely the health department wants to sponsor it. We don't know the.
What they want to do?
Exactly. So the first thing is getting the actual schematic and putting a price on it. And that's where Scott and Arthur and the engineering group, we'll say, okay, we have someone who's interested in doing this 5K. Can you give us 2 or 3 options? Let's see what they look like and how much they cost. And then Rob takes it back to his board and says, here's 2 or 3 options. What are we willing to do? So that is further along in the process. Browning is a conversation. But again, I think
So they're not committed to anything on the skate park?
absolutely not.
No, we're just.
It is a
that all has been
conversation.
the last
Okay, so
about 4
that's-
weeks. So what I was gonna say, on the.
Well,
on-
it's not, I mean, it's not nothing.
Oh,
It's a
no,
huge
no, no, I thought They
conversation.
were sponsored.
Yeah, no.
But-
I want to, while we're talking about money, just to make sure everyone is clear, someone mentioned something like, well, we haven't even seen $1 from, let's say, First Harrison. Harrison invested in an amphitheater that's not even
Built.
right. So just to be really clear on when that money will come, it's when these projects start erecting.
Yes.
So I just want to be very clear. It's not like they're going to give us $50,000 and cross their fingers that, so just to make sure everybody, so I just want to set our expectations really, really.
Well, there's an agreement already with First.
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
we got a
They are
We got a
contractually
contract.
obligated.
And it states that.
Yes, they're
how
going to
much
pay
money
us.
And when that starts.
Yes.
So
So I wanna add.
that's a
Yes.
little bit more solid, but.
It is.
Courtney, you need to explain, or maybe you can explain, but this is a process.
Sure.
You go in and ask for money, it's several stages, and you've gotta get through several layers,
Right.
and
But there are financial, there are obligations, there's contracts signed, and it's just, so many of it is waiting on the actual, when the project starts, when the project's finished. That's when the financial backing starts. So I just wanted to think that's a really good,
I do want to add, we had a great conversation with Rob. Rob's got a lot of good initiatives.
Gosh,
I mean,
man.
One of the things, it's all about health awareness with this whole 5K thing. It was really cool, because there was a number thrown around, they said 25, but I think it's more than that, because the way you listen to them talk about what they want to do. But the other thing is they also talked about drugs. They were talking about the drug awareness. I mean, they really have some really good things they're trying to do with having the packets there to help an overdose drug addict. It was really cool. I was very.
And he's just reaching out to programs that
very
already
impressed.
exist.
A very good meeting with him.
Dollars that have been available, he's just going after them.
There's one in
And
Louisville
so-
that I just went through training with.
Yeah, so I love having somebody like, you know, I feel like he definitely has an appetite for
It was
trying
a
to.
breath, it was a breath of fresh air.
It
to just
was,
listen
yes.
To what they were trying to do
That's a
at
good way
Board of
to put
Health
it.
to really help things, and so I thought
Yeah.
that was a good meeting with him, so, a lot of good stuff, and again,
Yes.
you know, like everybody knows
Partnerships.
that, where people are really getting excited about that. I think the meeting we're setting up with Browning again, because they've already been pretty positive with us.
Very.
We just wanna see what this next couple meetings go, because they've seen renderings of things we wanna do, but I've kinda switched that attention towards the skate park. So I've kinda moved them from what we were gonna do with them over here to get this thing done, because that's about a $500,000 project, if you guys wanna get some idea. We own the
Right, that's
property
why I was like.
for the skate park is about a $500,000.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think they can really lead the way because there's some other people in that park waiting to see the first person that goes.
Yeah, we have
And then we continue to go, but,
we're working with the lady that actually built the skate park in Mount Washington. She's actually helping us build ours, and it's kind of a great story. She's got a good story, sad story, but a good story about what we can do to work together. So it was kind of nice. They've got some fundraising. She's got already a nonprofit organization she works with that can help us raise that money, because I think the kids will love that skate park, I can tell you.
Dude, that's something right now. As soon as that thing is built, it's not like you have to wait on a program or, that's gonna attract kids. That's gonna give them something to do immediately.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. A lot of good stuff going. Well, thank you.
Any
Ms.
other
Court.
questions? Thank you.
Well, thank you. You can leave, well, I was gonna say, you could leave that on. Mr. Jeremy's coming up next. Come on up here, sir. Thank you, Miss Courtney. Jimmy, how are you, buddy? Long time no see. I think it was church yesterday.
A little tired. Got in after midnight last night.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you said it was a long time. Henderson, right?
Yep.
Oh, God, it's a long drive. All right,
Well, okay, so we just had our last planning commission meeting last week. There really wasn't anything on the docket that was related to Shepherdsville. Probably the biggest project on there was not necessarily a fulfillment center, but it was a warehouse development that was not specifically marketed to any one user. But it was in Hillview, within the city limits, and on the it's the south end of East Blue Lick, so south of the Brooks exit, and right where there's a couple 90-degree curves before it crosses the railroad tracks. So it's really not in a great spot. And that's the reason why I bring it up of interest, that, it's, they were wanting to build this warehouse development along a, 13-foot wide road that's residential on one side. It's, and it's industrial on the other. So it's, it's kind of in a gray area there, but, and they were intending to reconstruct the road and work with adjacent property owners to get rights to build that. But, I think what it gets to, in my mind, is that throughout Bullitt County, we've had so many developments that have come in over the years where there have been really no strings attached to it, that just come in and build what you want, and without any public infrastructure improvements associated with it. And that's kind of been my goal since I've started back in July, is to try to get meaningful investment into public infrastructure done by the private developers that are coming in. And so that was, that goes along with the development that was here in Shepherdsville down along by Chappies. And, we really worked hard to try to get some meaningful commitments in with this other developer up in Hillview, but I don't know how that's gonna flesh out once it gets to the city there. But, really that's, just gets down to we've got to be looking forward in terms of our infrastructure, how it's going to be. All these warehouses that are coming in, they're not going to slow down. We're in a great spot. We've got access. We're cheaper than land in Louisville, so that's not going to slow down. So we have to be ready, and we've got to have. We're working on trying to get a consultant under contract to update the comprehensive plan, and I'm hoping that's going to give us a little more ammunition for to help with directing where this development goes. But I think we're going to have to be more proactive in funneling these outside interests in, you know, where we try to point them to go, and what limitations that we can set up proactively. So, that's-
So one of the things that we briefly talked about, I talked to him yesterday, we were just talking briefly about the commitments made by the developer at Pease. And what he's been working on the backside is with the state making these commitments. Well, in our meeting, there's still agreement that they're gonna be developing something, but we gotta make sure what the state allows them to do on that road.
Right.
But what Jeremy did was behind the scenes, he's got folks committed at the state level to acknowledge that that's gonna be needed there, because first thing we talked about was first responders. You know, you got a 2-lane road in there and it gets traffic, there's nobody getting around nowhere. And that's the concern that we have with some of our roads, especially 61.
I wanted to ask you about the Pease Lane development. It seemed like he kind of, from the time he went to the planning commission to the time he came here, it seemed like there was a little bit of a, I don't wanna say he walked back some of his commitments, but as far as building that turn lane, he made it sound more of a administrative type thing with the state that, well, we have to do a traffic study and that they allow us to, and, I mean,
So I will say there are times, and this is kind of going back to the history with, you know, doing, like in Louisville Metro, there's a lot more moving parts through the zoning process, and you get tied to a lot of commitments that sometimes the jurisdiction having authority doesn't want, you know. And so I've been in that. I've had to deal with that, where we were told you need to build the Metro has said we want a turn lane here, but it's on a state route, and District 5 didn't want it. In this case, that was in looking at this before making any type of or proposing any type of commitment in the planning commission meeting. I worked with the transportation cabinet, showed them this is what I have in mind. What do you think? And to make sure that they were on board, that it wasn't something that they would just summarily just shoot down as soon as that developer went to get an encroachment permit. So that should not be an issue, you know, unless something has changed. And I hope that it's not used as a reason to back off of commitments that were made, because they were
Yeah, so
very
what-
clear.
So our commitment was this: Jeremy and I are gonna be watching this development all the way through. We're gonna start with the first one that gets started out there. We're gonna make sure that he's got commitments from the state that they're allowing things. We're gonna make sure those people give them the blessing so they don't have to worry. They mentioned survey, which is the process. A lot of times that process can get bogged down, but I told him to make sure, since he's got an influence of what's happened on this project, is to make sure he goes back to those people and say, hey, that survey has to correlate with what we asked for them to do over there, because that's what we want. We need that. So it's kind of a cooperation. Like you said, jurisdictions,
that's kind of what I was getting at. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't want this, you know, I don't want them to, like, get this bogged down in administrative red tape or whatever, say, well, we can't do it. You know, when it's kind of part of the deal of getting it pushed through the first place, I guess.
Right, well, and I guess I would hope that if there was, short of the state saying, no, we won't allow this, that if there was any effort to back off of those commitments, that we would be able to step in, because they were very clear. I was very clear in the, you know, what was laid out, the commitments to be made. They were very quick to acquiesce to that. You know, there wasn't much back and forth, so I would be very, very disappointed if it fell through, you know.
well, yeah, I think that's why our focus has to stay with that, making sure that we stay with the state on that. And he knows the folks, and we don't too. I mean, we know the folks that we've been talking to them, Jason, Richard, and
Yeah, and they're very by the book. They don't, you know, they're not gonna just throw something, or they don't. What's the word? They're very professional about it.
But I do think they understand the impact on 61, because there has been a lot of talk over the next 5 to 10 years, maybe longer, that's gonna be 4 lanes south of Salt River. So if that's gonna be the case, the thing for us right now is to make sure that whatever accommodations we can make to alleviate some of that and have an area that we can at least have some access to emergency vehicles getting around and some other traffic issues there,
Sure.
that's gonna be what we're gonna focus on.
Yeah,
So-
what I'm shooting for is just a Band-Aid, because knowing that
Yeah.
anything that's planned, even if we started today, if it got it, you know, in the legislative session, if a planning study went in for a 4-lane section along 61, you know, this coming, you know, next year, that gets in the 6-year plan, we're a decade out before, you know, at the earliest. And, you know, short of, you know, a future governor just gets behind it and says, we're gonna do this, you know, sometimes things move faster, but, yeah, that's.
We are gonna be doing that, by the way. We are gonna be going to Frankfurt.
Hey, you know what, if we can get it, great, but I would count on it being a decade before,
Sure.
you know, the first
I think that's reasonable.
shovels turn.
Anybody's been here any length of time, all you have to look at the Preston Highway and
Yeah, how long that took.
how that transpired. So everything's like that. So
Yeah.
I'm like you, I wanna see something there that's gonna alleviate some of the pressure.
Well, and
Still something definitive gets put in place.
so looking at the situation, whenever a developer builds along, in a site, you know, they're up against their right of way, but they're already moving dirt around the whole site. They've got access to that whole area. It's much cheaper for somebody who's along the road to build a sliver of pavement next to it than it is for, say, the state to come back and do the same thing up against the property owner where they have to go, even if they have right of way for the pavement, they still have to buy easements to do the grading on the outside. And it is so much, it's so much more efficient to have when a developer's coming in, building something from scratch.
Yeah, you minimize the fixed cost.
This really needs to happen whenever there's a development that comes in, whether it's commercial or industrial, cleaning up that roadside area, adding sidewalks if it's in, you know, in the more urban area, you know.
So can I ask you something, Jeremy?
Sure.
Did you all vote on that last night, the Brooks? That's my old stomping grounds, and I know where you're talking about, and it's horrible.
Yes, we voted twice. It did go through the second time. I'm not super happy with the language for the intersection that we went with. That was where, it's hard for me to talk without a picture, but as this road, I think it's Ferguson Lane, it comes up to East Blue Lick, it almost runs straight into it, where there's a curve that comes down, so it's a terrible intersection as it is today.
It is.
For a few houses, it's not a big deal for, you know, maybe a dozen people coming and going every day. But for trucks coming and going, where you have to, even to go, you know, they're saying that the trucks will all go north and not try to go over the railroad tracks to the
Yeah, right.
southwest. But you have to look completely over your shoulder. This would never be designed like this today. And with their presentation, they had no intention of improving that intersection because they don't own the property that's at the apex of that curve. I think it needs to happen. And I hope Hillview pushes for that to happen, and they'll need to acquire that right of way from the adjacent farm that had, you know, when that road was built back in the 50s. I looked up the old plans. There was a little corner of right of way that was left out. Their farm was severed, but they retained that piece on the other side of the curve. I really think they need to acquire that and realign that intersection to make it.
Yeah.
So Ferguson's a
modern.
city road, but East Blue Lick isn't.
East Blue Lick is also. So I thought it.
I kept thinking, you sure? I mean,
I thought it was a state route. When you look on Google Maps, it has a state route number.
so the reason why I was asking, okay, that's the important part about it. They have control of those roads.
But I
So
talked to
there's-
the state. They said it was decommissioned. I don't know how many years ago, but it still shows up with the old state route. So it is not a state route.
I want to leave you with one last thing here. First of all, thank you for all you do. I tell you, I've been so proud of you. I think you're going out, you're giving them a new enlightenment as far as what should be looked at when it comes to all the developments, not just in our city, but hopefully you're adding a whole lot more to the pie here. One thing that this council was given, a couple years ago, the county actually put out a corridor plan for 245. They have a plan they have out there. They offered it to the city. Don't know where it happened to it. And so anyway, they have just been given that. And so that's going to be reviewed. We're going to actually have first reading. I'm going to send it to you for you to take some insight of that, because basically what the county's wanting to do is basically everything that's not developed yet, east of that, from that second building on 245, you got the McKesson building, and then you got the building next to it. They want from that part, they sent us an amendment, but we approved the first place. So we're gonna approve the first plan, because it says basically all the way to Nelson County, they wanna keep that in a bourbon experience and other type of businesses that fit that tourism piece, which, I think we're all in agreement with that. But we wanna make sure, I want you to see it, so I'm gonna send it to you so that you can give your 2 cents worth for the council here.
Sure.
And then we're gonna put it on the agenda for the 27th. I wanted to throw that out there, because I think it's better to get your insight, and we agree with the county. We agreed with the landscape standards that they put out the last time, but this is the piece that we want to add into this. And I talked to Jerry today, the county judge, to tell him that we're working on that, because I think we're all in agreement. That 245 corridor can be really a good asset for the county, but we think it could be as good for us as well.
Okay.
So.
And that's, you said the 27th?
Yep, I'll get that to you tomorrow. If I don't get it to you the next day, I'll make sure you get a copy of that sent to you, Jeremy.
All right.
I don't know if you guys have any other questions for him, but I really appreciate what you do, buddy. Thank you very much. And you can leave that on, because Joe Fleming is here now, after cheerleading practice. Are you gonna teach us some cheers, Joe? Jeremy, thank you.
We had dance.
You had dance? Oh, that's right. So, hold on. So you're gonna give us a dance routine, and then Joe's gonna give us some cheerleading? You guys ready?
You better have some beer if you want.
All right. Jeremy, thank you very much, buddy. We appreciate all you do. Joe, how are you, buddy?
Doing good, doing good. It's nice to see everybody.
All right?
Uh,
I know you've been busy.
yeah, I've been real busy, but the ABC, it's been a little slow because it's getting cooler. We haven't had a lot of these special events going on, so I haven't had a lot of special license to give out or anything right now. But I do got some exciting news. They're having, the Kentucky Department of Alcohol Beverage Control is hosting some ABC administrator training sessions, and the first one is November 28th. It's in Paducah. So I registered to go to that, so I'll be doing that.
Okay.
And then I think they have another extended one on December 20th, so if it's like a further education thing, I want to be doing that one as well.
Will you do me a favor? Will you get with Brenda and all that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Yeah, no problem.
But outside of that, everything that I've checked locally, everybody's been doing what they're supposed to do. I went by the local bar establishments. Everybody's closing up kind of early, really, compared to late. They're not keeping a lot of business super, super late, so haven't had any major issues from anybody or anything brought to my attention, so things are going pretty smooth.
We want to make sure you always come up and tell you, but no news is good news, right?
Yes, sir.
Really
Yes,
does
sir.
what comes down to that, ABC. So we do appreciate what you're doing. I know it's one of those things that's left under the shadows, and we don't hear a whole lot from you, but I know you're doing well with it, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, the end of this, the beginning of next month, or January, is when a big group of licensings renewal, so I'll be a lot busier around that time.
Well, we appreciate everything you do, Joe. Thank you for coming in for a little bit today. All right. All right. Honey, would you click that button? Would you- Not that honey, my honey. Just one of you just hit the button.
Teacher, honey.
My other honey. Thank you, Rob. Rob, Tom, don't write that. All right.
Sorry, Rob.
What a mess I am. All right, first day back. All right, old business. Ms. Catherine Dozier has a second reading of our summary, 023-060. It is about a code enforcement.
Ordinance 023-060, an ordinance amending ordinance 023-013 of the City of Shepherdsville, Bullock County, Kentucky, relating to the Property Maintenance Code. Number 1, Section 12 is amended to include condemnation of unsafe premises. 2, Section 13 is amended as follows: to include the closing of condemned premises and to provide that it shall be unlawful for any person to occupy a structure or premises that has been condemned. 3, Section 17 is amended as follows: to amend the definition of premises, to add the definition for public nuisance, and to add the definition for vacant. And 4, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
All right. Now, obviously, a lot of you guys, we've talked a little bit about this, but it's just strengthening what we're doing in code enforcement. Not for specifically in one property, but the terminology of just structure versus premise changes a lot of the dynamic. When you read that, you see it kind of all inclusive, which I thought Catherine was wanting to put that in there. So, Ms. Bonnie. you got-
Motion.
The motion, all right, that's all you get. I had that right on there, all right. All right, Ms. Brenda?
All right. Mike,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
Bonnie,
Yes.
Faith,
Yes.
Paula,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Councilman. All right, I'm not even gonna give you a chance to volunteer. Lane, Steve, you guys come up here?
Oh, thank you.
Only because, I mean, they may have a couple questions for you. I know that you guys have, you're not going to the principal's office.
I feel like this week is a
I
very,
feel- What was that? What was that, Chief?
Wouldn't be the first or last.
I feel like the events of this week are very apropos to what we're about to discuss.
Yes, that's kind of my, I gotta tell you, gosh, gone last week and talking to the Chief, Lane, a couple days ago, and talking to Chief Smith today, I gotta tell you, I visited both departments and told them, thank you for, what a week, what to be happening. So, we understand the stress. We just got proven how much of that happens so much in a very short period of time. So, for your folks, we do really appreciate all that you do. So, I know I know Chief, I think you guys have talked to the council a little bit about, and there's a Cliff Note version, and I think it's easy as, for you guys, when you read all this, we want you to understand really it basically is the critical incident is something that's offered to all. It's a matter of the council seeing it from a budgetary standpoint to see if we're willing to cover that cost. And I can tell you, I know how I feel about it, but I do want to make sure before this reading, I don't know if you had any questions. I thought both of them having them up here. I know they talked to you a little bit, but we can have the reading and then they can, you can ask some questions, or you can, if you have any questions now, Bonnie, you guys have anything? Brad?
Well, just, I read through it and I wasn't really clear on a couple of things. So the 48 hours, it's mandated by the statute. So are we proposing that we cover that as an administrative cost versus them using PTO time? Is that?
Yes.
Yes, it would be paid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then how does that work with, because having dealt with this before, in my prior job, it's, that doesn't preclude us from letting them go home the day of that shift.
No,
Right.
we can still do that.
And then we give them the 48 hours on top of that, right? Okay.
And that's if they claim it.
If they claim it,
Want to,
right,
yes.
yeah. Obviously, after whatever administrative investigation type stuff needs to be done, but, and then how does that translate? I mean, it's easy, you know, when you're working consecutive days, but how does that translate to the fire department where you're working
It's
24?
basically give you a week off.
Okay,
So your 48 hours covers 2 years.
right,
You get a
okay.
week off
That
to
was
get-
my question.
to
Was
get
it
some free
48 continuous hours or is it 48 work hours? So it's 48 work hours, okay.
Obviously, the number of hours you guys work
Yeah.
as well.
That's all I need.
No worries, I just want to make sure. Paula, Mike?
Jennifer.
I'm sorry,
like,
Miss Jennifer, I'm sorry.
In reading, in reading the document, the KRS, I did have one question. So, with this program, it starts talking about, funding from the state. So the states, it looks like in this KRS, we get money for this, from this program? For our departments, like, do we
My
get?
understanding, they were trying to get it down the road. They were
Yeah.
gonna try to get that included. What they did, like I said, you've gotta realize, we're a year behind on this, so.
Yeah.
What this did, and I still don't think they have the funding provided.
Okay, cause it was saying stuff about like, there is special, like, funding put aside for these situations, and my question was, is the state reimbursing us for our officers and stuff who are utilizing this program? Like, would they be funding
No.
us?
No, from what I understand on it, is they're gonna be funding like training facilities and places to train people and to get all of our people up.
Kinda like we talked a little bit earlier about the different, Kentucky PCIS and the training they put up through DLCJT, it might come through that. Because, from the read I took on that was that the state mandated that the leave was to be given.
Yeah,
It just had to go before your all's, the body here, to determine whether it's paid or unpaid. That's why I'm assuming that they aren't reimbursing anything, since they're asking the legislative body to make that decision for each city or body, so.
So we also read something about, you know, like they would get counseling or whatever. And would that have to be, would they have to go get something signed off saying, yes, we went through this program? Or you all just approve it and they have 2 days off? They don't have to have any, you know, to me, you would have to almost go and see counseling or something, you know.
So,
To me, that would be.
I'll answer how it's written. How it's written right now, no, they don't, if they meet the criteria, one of those critical incidents, they can request that leave up to 48 hours, and they do not necessarily have to go to counseling. They can sleep in their bed for 48 hours and try to get rid of the nightmares. I'm just saying, like, they can't, that's not how we've written it. It's not how the statute was written. The way I wrote it, I just basically parlayed that. All they've gotta do is, there's gotta be a critical incident, and they've gotta go to, one of them, or their assistants, however that works, and request that leave. And the city, would pay for the leave, the way it's written. They don't have to show that they actually went and sought counseling or that they did anything necessary. Because maybe they don't need counseling. Maybe they just, I mean, after the week that some of these guys had, maybe they're just like, you know what, I need a moment. I can't go on my next shift. I need a moment to like take a beat. So as the way it's written, no, they don't have to come back and show any proof that they did counseling or that they did anything.
And not really counseling, I mean, even have a preacher come in and talk to the whole group. I mean, I would encourage that, I would.
Well, we do, anytime we have a critical incident,
I was gonna ask
we'll have a debriefing.
Okay.
And we have different, counseling personnel we can get hold of from the State Fire Commission, other departments, things of that nature come in.
And the same way with us, we will have a debriefing usually after anything major, and then we've also taken use of psychiatrists that's employed through LMPD, that deals with military and police, and we usually, that is there for us, and I'm actually reaching out, now that they've opened that wellness center at Louisville,
Yeah.
to see if we can do like a partnership with them if we need it,
Yeah.
that'll be made available to us. So most of them, that if they're gonna claim it, they're going to go along with trying to
Right.
get some help, otherwise they wouldn't be claiming.
And I'm not saying they claim it just to get the money, but to me, I feel like it would be, anytime there's a death, you know, it's always kind of, especially unexpected, it's always kind of good to seek help.
Well, and some, at least for us, and like, I'm not exactly sure of that, how they would handle it, but if you're talking about an officer-involved shooting or an accident where somebody gets killed, they're gonna be off administratively, till the investigation starts and
Right.
it's over, and then they're gonna have to talk to somebody before they come back to work. So it's pretty much already set up that way. This is just literally, as I've talked about, we're going through everything, this year, policy and procedures, and this is one we stumbled across that, you know, we're a little behind on, so.
Yeah.
The system is pretty much set up, this is just you all, what's required by the statute, so.
Okay.
But we're gonna get them help, so
Good.
we'll
Okay.
find a way.
All right, thank you.
Mike, any comments here? You have anything? Okay. Ms. Paula? Good comments, Mr. Jennifer, appreciate that. All right. So,
Ready?
we're ready.
Okay.
Well, I do have another one.
Oh,
Hold
yeah,
on.
go ahead. No, go ahead. Go
I'm
ahead.
just trying to.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay, I mean, my thing of it is, I think I know it doesn't say it, but I think it should say that it's for, when it says stuff like death of a colleague or partner, I mean, this has to be, like, I don't know if it says it, I mean, I'm reading it and I don't see it, and I might be missing it. But they're on duty, right? This is on duty.
This is all something that would be in the line of duty.
Okay.
I thought I'd seen that somewhere, but I'm not sure.
Well, and the only reason I'm wondering, I mean, it's stuff like, a vehicle crash resulting in serious injury or death to an officer or citizen. So, I mean, is that the responding officer? So, that's just not, you know, like it'll say stuff like, if they had a child at that same age, that's like saying, you know, like, I'm just trying to think how to say it. So, it's not, an officer hears about something and he hears of the death of someone, he wasn't on duty, but now he hears about it and he needs, like, it's not critical for him, right? We're not saying this. Because I don't see where
Well,
it says,
if you look at,
It actually says that they responded.
if you look at under,
cause it says that it's 48 hours,
if you look
it's
at
only
under
after their shift.
B, if you look at B, under either one, it says
Yeah.
any firefighter or any peace officer involved directly in a critical incident. So
Okay.
that involved directly in means, no, if I stayed at the firehouse when the other firemen went to that
Right.
accident, the train, no, I don't get to take it. I was not directly involved. The fact that
Right.
they came back and told me
Okay.
about it, it would be those firemen
That were directly there.
that responded
Okay.
and that were directly involved in that critical
Okay.
incident. Now, if for some reason, and I don't know if this ever happens, but if they were off duty and they responded, I don't know if that ever happens, especially on the police side, but if they were off duty and they responded to that critical incident and they were directly involved and they responded, they would still be able to get that 48 hours, even if they were not on duty, because they were directly involved and they went there. I don't know if that ever happens, guys. Maybe
Well,
you all
it's-
can address the off duty.
Yeah,
Just
it
past
does
week.
quite a bit.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
matter of
but
fact,
same.
and I think once people get called in, they would be considered on duty, but I think we had 4 people called in at 4:30 this past Saturday on that fatal out on 65. So were they technically working? No, they were called in, so.
That's in the line of duty.
That's,
Yeah,
I
that's
think
direct-
that,
that's directly
I was even
involved.
talking about, let's say, you know, an officer's driving on the road, he's off duty, and he sees the accident and stops and responds
Well, sure,
and calls it
then
in.
he's-
I would
he's
still
on
say,
duty then.
He's
I
there.
would
He's
say,
physically
Right, he's the first responder.
but that's my whole point, but they're not
Yeah.
technically on duty at the time, they weren't in here, they weren't on duty.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yes, if they directly respond, then they
So,
would be
okay.
eligible.
Okay, so then the shift would start as soon as he's done with that 48 hours, right? With that call. Not come back to work and then 48 hours later,
Well.
if he's off duty.
It depends, because I think that they obviously, they have to get information from them, so you can't just send them home right away, they have to get information. Steve Lane, I'll let you kind of answer the timeline
Right,
of
so like,
that.
okay, so what she's saying is someone's off duty, they see a wreck, they respond. That immediately puts them on duty. So then they get 48 hours, but then their shift is, it's 48 hours from that time. So if they already used one day of those 40, they don't get a week off at this point.
No, I think
Does
that
that,
you're,
does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I think it's a moot point because if they were off duty and they came in and they had
That
trouble
puts them
and
on
wanted
duty.
help, it would start that,
Now,
that day.
the reason why fire gets a week is because their schedule is 24, 48
48,
hours. So you
right.
can't say, oh, we're already off 48, no, they actually get an additional,
So we say, okay, they saw that they stopped, that started their new 24 hours,
no,
no.
if they're off. And then
no.
they get more.
It's the difference in
So
how
like-
the fire department operates
Yeah,
versus
so
police.
that's why
Yeah.
Lane was saying they would get the week, because, let's say I'm working Monday, my shift is Monday from,
Yeah.
what is it, Lane, 7, no.
7 in the morning to 7 next morning.
Okay, so 7 AM to 7 AM, so my shift starts at 7 AM, and Monday afternoon at 2 PM, there's the accident. I'd probably finish my shift or come close, because I'd have to fill out paperwork, I'd have to
Right.
answer questions, I'd have to do all that. I'm already off Tuesday and Wednesday, because that's my schedule. I'm supposed to be back at work, I would not come to work Wednesday. I'm already off Thursday and Friday, I was supposed to be back Saturday, I would not come back to work Saturday.
Okay.
Because that's how their schedule works. Now, the police, their schedule's
We're on an 8, 10, and 12, so.
His
you know, it
schedule's
just
a little bit
all
more what I
depends
call
on-
normal. But, so for the fire, yes, that's the way, because they're already off those 48 hours, so you can't lump them and, it'd be like telling an office worker, oh yeah, you get 2 business days off if you see this, and saying, oh, what happened on a Friday, and you're already off Saturday and Sunday, so you don't get the 2 business
Oh,
days.
no, that's what they would do to us.
Well, just trying to like, put it in some
They'd
perspective.
be like, you got
of-
2 days off anyway.
So, but that's, this is just exactly how the statute
Yeah.
is written, so I just used that language, and the only thing I tweaked was that we put in there that we would pay it, and that's because the city pays for 3 days of bereavement leave, the city pays for, pretty much any type of leave, and, talking to them, I do not foresee this at all being abused. This is not something that anybody would take pride in or wants to use or abuse, and
And really, it's not going to cost any more money because it's already budgeted into the payroll, so it's just that they aren't gonna have to take their time, it's already, so there's really not gonna be a cost to it either, it's already budgeted.
And like as we reiterated, what you guys went through last week, I think this reminds us all of what you guys do. Ms. Paul?
I appreciate everything that you all do for our community, everything.
Appreciate it. Tim, are we good?
Mayor?
Yep.
Well, Mike has some.
Oh, Mike does.
Chief, I know you and I talked about like the peer support aspect, and Lane, you all got something built in like that to kind of diffuse, and then if we've got to EAP or whatever, that's also an option. And then, something else I was gonna ask, I already forgot.
So we use EAP a lot.
Oh, I know what I was gonna ask. So, do we have a way to track, like, how many critical incidents an officer will respond to over a period of time? I mean, I know that's a lot
Not,
of,
for us, not really.
I know that's asking a lot. I mean, cause that was something we did, especially dealing with EMS, is like, it's not always one incident, but it can kind of accumulate.
So you will have to,
But,
probably, like on,
Guardian Tracker, but even that, what's gonna be so difficult with it, and this will sound kind of heartless, is that something that you might think is a critical incident might not affect me at all. But if you go with a kid and a bad injury, and you have a kid that age, that might affect you more than somebody that could come up and say, I've got this job to do, so.
You have to kind of come up with
Yeah, it's kind of
arbitrary
hard
criteria
to say what's a critical incident, so.
Yeah, so that's where you just need an arbitrary, some type of criteria, and then you just, you can find some way to flag them, and then, it's just a way to, I would think, to kind of check on people, if they make 3 of these incidents in a 2-week span, then you're like, hey, you may want to check on them.
And that might be something to be peer support, because like I said, unfortunately, I've seen it to where people have seen horrible things over their career, and then what makes them snap is something so minor you would.
There's a code you can put on it, just like a vacation or whatever. When you turn it in, if a gentleman's taken this, if he's been off all week, 48 hours, and that was something that was explained to me that I kind of took out of perspective to begin with, was the 24 and 48 hours I figured cover the next day and the day after. Whereas this is basically a work week for most of the individuals. So, it can be tracked, and if it's something that down the line, somebody determines is, out of control, you deal with it then.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment.
Well, payroll would probably have to keep track of it, wouldn't it? I mean, cause it wouldn't be
Yeah.
paid leave, it'd be considered paid leave, but, or even, or whatever.
Yeah, they just make the code.
They could make a code for that. Typically, right now, what it would be
Sure.
administratively, that's how we would code it.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
Mike, thank you.
That's it.
All right, we good? All right, Ms. Catherine, you got our first reading on this, please.
all right.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Thank you.
Ordinance 023-061, an ordinance amending 021-034 of the City of Shepherdsville related to adopting a policy and procedure manual for non-elected and appointed employees of the City of Shepherdsville relating to employment matters of job classification, hiring, promotion, discipline, and other employment issues. Summary number 1, Section 8, paid and unpaid leaves of the City Employee Handbook is amended as follows. Amends the age of the child from 7 to 10 years of age under the adoption leave in accordance with KRS 337.015. Adds paid critical incident leave for firefighters. Adds paid critical incident leave for peace officers. Number 2, Section 9, appendices and city forms of the City Employee Handbook is amended as follows. Incorporates City Form 126, critical incident leave request form for firefighters into the City Employee Handbook. Incorporates City Form 127, critical incident leave request form for peace officers into the City Employee Handbook. 3, provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication.
All right, this is the first reading, obviously, you've got another couple weeks if you have any questions with that. Like I said, most of it really goes down to a budgetary decision you guys are gonna be making on this, so I think, but thank you, gentlemen back there, again, thank you. All right, with that said, we obviously did not schedule a heavy meeting today, and we have no executive session, and we actually have, Lane, Steve, I'm not even gonna ask you to come back up here, I know Arthur is not here. Brenda always has so many dynamic things to tell us about admin.
Yeah.
That's a no again.
Doing great.
Yeah, oh, thank you. And then Tom has got her together hunting. Pray for them, that they don't, hit each other. All right, well, so I do have from Dwayne, he said he couldn't be here, he's in Taylorsville. The November meeting of adjustments had one application for Shepherdsville. It was a 10-foot variance for a detached garage located at 207 Village Circle Drive. He is trying to square the building up better with his home. It was approved. Our December meeting is the 14th at 6 o'clock. When I receive the docket, I'll have it printed off and at the front desk. I'll leave you for review again, just letting us know he could make the meeting. So not much going on there. Planning and zoning, we've talked to Jeremy. He kind of went through his reports. We're all good there. No sign-in speakers. So I can remember how I started, I think. Which way did I start the last time? Go this way, this way? All right, Ms. Paula?
I think, just continue to pray for all the people that were involved with all the tragic events and the first responders and stuff and the families. That's all.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Paula. Mike?
Well, I just want to mention, we've had a very hectic week or so with our first responders, and just goes to show you the caliber of the people we have. I heard reports that they were just right on the spot. People got calls in to dispatch and no sooner completed them practically than they were on site. So, gotta give kudos to that, and I think we have very professional police and fire units. So, that's all I got today. Thank you.
Mike, thank you very much. Ms. Faith?
Well, I want to say thank you to the first responders also. You all did a great job. I was out and about in all that mess, so it was terrible, I know. And I feel for everybody. Praying for you all. I do have something. I went and watched it too. I had a gentleman call me because he's seen a kid almost get hit. And it's from Bullet Lick School. And what they do is they walk up that street. They do it on Saltwell too, but there's not a sidewalk. Because I went down and monitored. And I have a picture of it too. Because we have sidewalks on one side and sidewalks on the other, but none of them are with each other. So when you leave Bullet Lick Middle School on the 44 side, there's a sidewalk on the opposite side. They're crossing that street to go to the park on bicycles or whatever. He said the child almost got hit on a bicycle, and it was a middle school kid. Wondering if we could put a crosswalk there. And I said, I can bring it up, and I'll see what can be done. But it is, go look at it. The sidewalk on the side where Shannon Lane is comes to Shannon Lane and it ends. And then there's houses there. So even if, I don't even think it comes to Shannon Lane. I got a picture of it. Anyways, what it does is, let me get it out here. It goes to, sidewalk don't even go to Shannon Lane. It goes right before the house, right before Shannon Lane. Well, right there past actually that's that building, right past Saltwell. There's a little white building. It's some kind of business now. It ends there on that side. And on the other side, it ends at our park. It's crazy. It's like there's not a sidewalk all the way complete on 44.
So I will tell you that with the park development, the plans we're doing, we are gonna have a major crosswalk across there from, across 44. Okay, so
That's what this is, 44.
that's what I'm talking about. So we're gonna have that, bells and whistles. It'll be something, because we want the kids to be able to take a field trip into the park.
Right.
So that is part of that plan. That'll be presented to the state, because that 44 is a state road.
We can't put like a crosswalk just so people be cautious. And we don't have to have,
We have to get proof from them no matter what we do. So we gotta, it's a state road. But we can, but I'd be glad to talk about that, because I think
if you
that's.
don't mind, and I
Absolutely.
can put in calls too, but
Yeah,
I told the guy I'd bring it up,
Okay.
and so.
I think it's a good thing. There's gonna be a lot of traffic across there. We're gonna have
There
to get that
is,
taken.
well, there already is, because I went up there and sat and watched, and there was quite a few kids,
Yeah, and they're gonna wanna go to that park, especially with everything that's gonna go in there. They're gonna see more traffic going
Right,
that way, especially
and
with
it's the
kids.
same as Saltwell Drive. They come out Saltwell Drive, and then they just walk through the grass, or they cross the street there and walk in the ditch. That, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well,
So we need to do something.
Okay, we'll do it.
Thank you.
I appreciate it very much. You're very welcome. Thank you for your comments. Ms. Jennifer?
I just want to say thank you two for bringing that to our attention, the whole program thing, that KRS, because I think it's a good thing. I think getting, like, our first responders, they see a lot of stuff that normal people don't see on a day-to-day basis, and I think that it's a good thing.
I appreciate it. Brad?
Just want to echo what my fellow council member said. Public safety here does a fabulous job. We got top-notch individuals, and for a community our size, I think we're probably better off than most, if not the best. So, thank you all.
We are the best.
And
You're all the best.
personally, I want to thank Chief Schmidt for looking after my house while I was out of the country. So, thank you for that too.
We weren't sure he's coming back, Chief. I got to listen to some of his vacation. We're happy to have him back. All right, well, thank you, Brad. Ms. Bonnie?
Same thing, thank you all, the fire and police. I also want to just note that for the fire and police, these next 2 months, well, this month and next month are going to be very busy with all the turkey fires, Christmas tree fires, and domestic disputes. Really all ramp up at this time, so a lot of prayers for that, because I know it's going to get crazy, and a lot of prayers for the people that have a hard time during these holidays, because either not getting along or loss of family members is a hard time of year for all of them, and a lot more suicide rates during these holidays, so prayers for all of them.
I appreciate it, Ms. Bonnie. Well, and so a person walked in, I wanted to make sure, hi Shannon. I did actually have this, I'm gonna say this. I know, first of all, Chief, both of you guys, I'm very proud of your team. I'm proud of your leadership. You guys are great. And I really do think we're very proud to have you guys and what you do. So, and all your teams have been awesome. But I want to thank Rob Adams and Shannon Lehman for things they've been doing in this community. I mean, you guys have done a great job, Rob, with the pickleball and basketball and soccer, everything you do. And I am very proud of all the work that you do here. I want to thank you for that. Shannon, the same thing. And Karen, I'm gonna keep bragging on you. I know I won't break into rash if I brag about you. It's just him. But I want to appreciate all that you've been doing. I mean, we've got a lot of people working. My wife's been helping out. Dolores, you do some stuff too. I know you. But I'm telling you, I gotta love her. But I'm telling you, the beautification and the things that are going on, you're really doing some great things. The Spooktacular went great. We raised $7,000 for Bullet Central. We're writing a check for two different groups there at Bullet Central. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank everybody for being here. And if there are no other questions, I need a motion. And yeah, second then, Mike. Somebody was asking why you get to do the second. I said, I don't know, it just.
Because he's spoiled.
I'm the oldest one here.
That's a very fair point.
Bonnie.
Yes.
Yes.